Hi, everybody. Welcome to our online event series here at ACCESS Employment. So my name is Rebecca Lee, and I am the Online Services Coordinator here at ACCESS Employment. And I also have a special guest with me today, and this is Vivian Lee, and she is the Senior Manager of Inclusive Recruitment here at RBC. So our topic today is job search preparation before you arrive in Canada. So those of you that are joining us for the very first time today, we just want to extend a very warm welcome to everyone from all over the world and across from Canada as well. And those of you that are joining us for the second time or the 10th time, thank you so much for all your support as well. So just in the next few months, I just wanted to update you. So as part of our online event series, we will be partnering with various staff from the RBC team, including Vivian Lee and some of the HR team as well. And we'll be delivering a number of job search related webinars, mainly for pre-arrival and also for newcomer job seekers currently in Canada as well. So please do stay tuned on how to register for upcoming webinars later on in this presentation. So just a little bit about myself. So those of you that are joining for the first time, I just wanted to introduce a little bit about who I am. So my name is Rebecca Lee, as you know, and I currently support the online services team here at ACCESS Employment, where I create a number of virtual networking events to connect job seekers like yourself, nationally as well as around the world, with reputable employers and newcomer professionals that have found success in Canada. So really just providing hope and guidance for you as well. I also work as a job developer here at ACCESS, helping over 200 internationally trained finance and banking professionals to launch their career in the Greater Toronto area as well. Prior to that, I also work in talent acquisition, business development, and also marketing in the telecom, executive search, and also consulting sector as well. So during my free time, I love to travel. So I like to meet really different types of people and try new foods, and I really think that the world is a beautiful place. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm just going to pass it off to my co-facilitator today, Vivian Lee.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hello, everyone. Extremely happy to be here today. My name is Vivian Lee. I'm from Royal Bank, RBC Royal Bank of Canada. I actually landed in Canada around, I would say, 14 years ago as a new immigrant at that time. I'm currently the Senior Manager for Inclusive Recruitment at RBC. As an immigrant myself, I deeply understand the barriers newcomers face when they first come to Canada, such as language barriers, culture barriers, as well as build a network when it comes to job searching. So it is my great pleasure here today to be here with you and share with everyone some job searching knowledge I have, and I hope it will help you launch your career successfully when you're in Canada one day.
Thank you so much, Vivian. So just a little bit about ACCESS Employment. So welcome to those of you that are joining us for the first time. I just want to take a few moments just to tell you a little bit about our organization. So with over 35 years of experience, ACCESS Employment has been providing programs and services to job seekers facing barriers to employment. So we work with over 2,000 employers, including RBC, to connect diverse talent to meaningful employment in Canada. We also achieve this by providing employment services, linking employers to skilled people, and building strong networks in collaboration with community partners as well. ACCESS Employment also delivers online services, which also includes the webinar event you're attending today, to our pre-arrival job seekers approved to land in Canada. And we also provide services for newcomers across Canada as well.
Thanks, Rebecca. RBC is the largest, Canada's largest bank, and one of the largest banks in the world based on market capitalization. We have over 80,000 full-time and part-time employees who serve more than 16 million personal, business, public sector, and institutional clients through offices in Canada, the US, and 36 other countries. We are one of North America's leading diversified financial services companies and provide personal and commercial banking, wealth management, insurance, investor services, and capital markets products and services on the global basis. In addition to our lines of businesses, we also have different functional areas such as finance, HR, technology and operations, etc. Innovation is core to our thinking at RBC. Our current strategic focus is to build a digitally enabled relationship bank. We are collaborating with a diverse set of partners to explore new technology and investing in the digital ecosystem to help drive the future prosperity and economic success of Canada. In RBC, diversity and inclusion is a key enabler in bringing to life RBC's purpose of helping clients thrive and communities prosper. We truly believe by coming together and sharing our unique perspectives, we grow as an organization and as individuals. This helps RBC attract and retain the best talent, and it helps us better serve and meet needs of our increasingly diverse client markets. One of our guiding principles for hiring is to hire from the community to serve the community. We help our clients in over 200 languages. Our workforce has over 33% of visible minorities, and the majority of them are either first or second generation immigrants. We leverage the diversity of our workforce as an asset that is a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Immigrant employees bring with them their unique cultural acumen and international experience. This allows us to excel not only in Canada, but also in the global market. With a large representation of immigrants in our workforce, we have a strategic focus in recent years in developing our immigrant employees into senior leadership roles. We also have an employee resource group called Mosaic that helps immigrant employees build leadership skills, such as well as provide networking and mentoring opportunities within the organization. We also have our annual Diversity and Inclusion Festivals, where employees from all backgrounds come together to celebrate our diverse cultures at RBC.
Thank you, Vivian. In terms of our agenda today, we will be talking about the following. So we're talking about the building your network in Canada from overseas. We'll talk about knowing your job market, the recruitment process at RBC, phone and interview tips, video interview tips, the resumes do's and don'ts, personal branding on social media, LinkedIn tips, and also staying in touch while overseas. So in terms of building your network in Canada while you're overseas, sometimes you ask, so how do I do that when I'm not here in person yet? So our best advice is to connect with friends, any university or school alumni or past colleagues that have already landed in Canada, regardless of their field. So it doesn't matter if they are in computer sciences and you're in finance. If they're working at a company that you want to work for, you can definitely connect with them, and you never know who they know. So it's really the power of networking, and it doesn't require any cold calling because they already know you. So in terms of connecting with other people, you can also speak with employers and also recruitment agencies in the city that you will be landing. So being proactive about that, you can also ask your friends and your colleagues as well, you know, what kinds of companies and agencies that would be a great place to work for. And also attending online networking events such as this webinar today, and also to network with employers while online as well. You can also request for video or phone information interviews. So just treat these like a coffee meeting, but online. So have a bunch of questions prepared to ask them, and it's good to do some research as well. So never ask for a job on a video or phone information interview, but just learn a little bit more about the company itself and what their application process is like, and what they look for. So a little bit like a webinar today, just learning a little bit more about the process, and it'll really help you in the long run when you do have an interview. The second thing is knowing your job market. So as you know, being in a different country, it's very different in terms of the job titles that you might want to apply for. So a lot of people come to ACCESS and they ask, what should I apply for? You know, I was a manager, I was a head, I was a VP. So it's very good to do some research on the Canadian job boards to see if there's something equivalent to what you are looking for. So I will actually be providing some of those links to you after our webinar today. But one of the job boards that we have that's really great here is Indeed.ca. And you can look up some titles in the finance area and the IT area, whatever area it is, and then find out what are the 2 or 3 job titles that best match your experience. The next thing is researching your salary range. So it's always a recruiter's nightmare if you actually say, I'm looking for anything for a salary range, because we don't want to work for free. So in terms of looking for a salary range, try to find an equivalent in the city that you're landing in. So there are some great resources out there, including glassdoor.ca, and I will also send you that link as well after the webinar. And it's good to know your job market, and it shows that you're serious about getting a job in that area. In terms of creating a list of companies as well, it's very important to do this because sometimes it helps your contacts help you as well. So if you have a list of, say, 15 to 20 companies you are looking to work for, it's very helpful for others to look out for you in those companies as well. So it's also a little bit like fishing. You don't just cast your net in just one, in everywhere in the sea, right? You also want to focus fire on specific areas so that you can nibble. And in terms of other things, you can also subscribe to the Canadian news as well. There is a website called www.theglobeandmail.com, and you can just be updated on current events, and this will really help you in terms of networking as well with different contacts and employers.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. So in general, our recruitment processes are divided into 3 stages. The job searching application stage, the interview stage, and the offer stage. In the application stage, you can usually find our job posting. I would say 99% of our job postings are online. So if you're interested in RBC, just Google rbc.job and RBC jobs, then you will find our website. And you can also search through job boards. There are so many job boards such as Indeed, Monster. Sometimes our recruiters do profiles jobs on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. So if you are following RBC or following Facebook, LinkedIn, sometimes there are some profile jobs that you can find there. What is something that's worth mentioning is you will be asked some employment equity questions. Basically, when you apply for jobs at RBC, there is a section where you will be asked whether you are a woman, a person with disability, are you an indigenous person, or visible minority. By visible minority, it means that you are non-white by color, and non-Caucasian by race, and you're not an indigenous person. So the information you provide are treated with extreme confidentiality. Usually people from 4 groups face employment barriers, and we collect information to evaluate our recruitment processes to ensure our hiring practice is fair and inclusive. For example, in RBC, we have special recruitment programs that help people with disabilities to get accommodation they need to be successful in the interview process and in their jobs. Say if you are a candidate with a hearing impairment, we would arrange an American Sign Language interpreter to be with you in the interview so that you can showcase your abilities to be successful in the job. Say if you need a wheelchair access, that's a very fair ask to make sure. We will make sure that the building you are interviewing, being interviewed in, have the wheelchair access. So one thing to assure you is providing the information will absolutely not impact your job application. If you are considered a competitive candidate in a role, you will be invited to the interview. For some of our roles, such as retail banking and advice center roles, you will be sent an assessment to complete. And if successful, you will be invited to interview. But for other roles, you don't necessarily have to go through the process. In the recruiter interview, most of the cases is over the phone. However, if you are, like I mentioned, if you're a person with disabilities and you have a hearing impairment that requires accommodation, we'll make sure that all the accommodation is in place for you to have a successful interview. The hiring manager interview, majority of the interviews are conducted in person. Depending on the position you apply for, you can be invited to be interviewed with one hiring manager or a panel interview. A panel interview means that there are more than one hiring managers join as a group to interview you. We use this practice more and more to make sure that we don't have unconscious bias in our hiring decisions, to make sure that everybody provide their input and make sure we hire the best candidates possible. So once you are, a successful candidate for the role, you will be moved to the offer stage. Usually, the recruiter will present you the verbal offer, followed by a formal written offer, and you have the opportunity to have some compensation discussion at this stage. The offer is usually contingent on the successful completion of background check. The background check usually contains education, background check, criminal, credit history, as well as your employer reference checks. Depending on the complexity of the check and how long it takes the references to get back to us, it can be between 1 to 4 weeks, but the majority of the check is done within 2 weeks. So say once the background check is complete, you will receive a welcome letter from RBC. Say we would formally welcome you to join RBC.
So in terms of phone interview tips, so the reason why phone interview is actually very important is that it's really the first round of interviews, and it's your first impression as well. So kind of like what Vivian mentioned in the recruitment process, this is kind of like your first point of contact. And especially if you are overseas, the listener cannot see you. So it's very important to be able to have a really clear greeting, right? So when the listener can't see you, they don't know you, you also want to just make time for them to also take notes as well. And there's a lot of different types of etiquette that comes into a phone interview. So some of the common mistakes that we have seen is having, like I mentioned, an unclear greeting. So just saying hello, right? Versus saying, hi, this is Rebecca, and I am from where I am, right? So it's very important to say hi and also introduce your name as well, and also thank the interviewer. It's good to talk loud, not loud, I would say, really try to speak up and try to speak slowly as well. It's very hard to understand, especially when it's over the phone. So you just want to make sure that you have a very clear sounding voice, and try not to talk too much, and make sure that you are pausing as well, just in case the interviewer does want to speak or to interrupt you as well, just because they weren't able to understand you, or they might want to ask for clarification as well. So in terms of phone interview, these are just some of the tips, and you can definitely read more about phone interview tips on our Access Employment Online Job Search Center, which I will also share the link as well to that. In terms of video interview tips, so this is another form of interview that is very often the screening interview. So especially when you are overseas, sometimes the first step is not a phone interview, it is a video interview. So one of the things that is important is to check your technology. So make sure that obviously your webcam is working, make sure that your laptop is working, and don't wait until the last minute to check that. Another thing is also, kind of like on our webinar here today, we just want to make sure that we look good on camera. So making sure that your camera isn't too close, making sure that people can see your shoulders as well and not just your head. We also want to make sure that you check your background in case there's any distractions. Those of you that are in small places, you might be doing this in your living room or in a place where there's a lot of busyness in the background, for example, like a picture. or you might have cats, right, or pets or children in the background. So you just want to make sure that it's clear. So the best background is usually a blank wall or maybe a plant or a nice bookcase, but just make sure that it looks professional. The next thing is also checking your lighting. So sometimes people do their video interviews in a place where it's a little too dark. So it's very hard to see your face. So make sure that you're doing it in either daylight or make sure that you have a very bright room that you're doing this in as well. And definitely no flashlights. And in terms of dress, you just want to make sure that you're dressing professionally. So for example, if you are interviewing for a finance job at RBC and as a video interview, you just really want to make sure you're wearing a blazer, a nice shirt, professionally groomed as well, because you want to make the impression that you're taking this interview seriously. And of course, that smile and make eye contact as well. A lot of times we see people on video interviews looking like they're very nervous or they're not looking into the camera. So just make sure that you relax, and a smile is actually seen as very positive here in Canada. So you want to make sure that you are smiling, and also it also helps relax you as well in terms of your voice, and also makes your personality a little bit more approachable. And definitely, again, speak slowly and clearly. And lastly, this is very obvious, but we often forget, is to make sure our phone is on silent. So not on vibrate, but on silent, so that in case it does buzz or anything like that, it doesn't interfere with your quality in the video interview.
So I will take over on the do's and don'ts on resume writing. So I want to start with the do's. So the first one is to highlight what makes you stand out. Remember, for one job posting, recruiters and hiring managers receive hundreds of resumes. So usually for one job posting, we can receive between 100 to 1,000 resumes. So it's very, very important that you understand what makes for you to be successful in the job, and highlight the capabilities and experiences that are required by the job. In some situations, say it is a project manager role that requires you to work with teams from all over the world, then your international experience would be a great advantage that you want to highlight in the resume. The second point I want to point out is, please do be truthful and do not lie in the resume, because lying will not only impact in your current role, but the future roles you apply for and your long-term career. So that is a big do not lie, be truthful. Grammar and spelling matters. Well, it is not the most important criteria for hiring decision. It does provide an indication of your English communication skills as well as your attention to details. So please do make sure that you check your grammar and spelling before you submit your resume. The next bullet point is volunteer experience. Volunteer experience is very important in a sense that, so I just want to share my own experience. When I first landed in Canada, I didn't have a so-called Canadian experience, and I just finished my school in HR. So I was wondering how would I be able to, start a job, a career in HR. So I volunteered in a recruitment team in a big organization for a couple of months, and from there I was able to get a contractor position within the organization. So after you land in Canada, volunteer is a great way to learn, the Canadian work culture, showcase your expertise, and build your network. Even before you land in Canada, if you have some volunteer experience that taught you the skills applicable to the job you're applying for, I would definitely advise you to include that experience in your resume. Sometimes there can be some side projects, pro bono work. It can also be a unique way to showcase yourself. So I would definitely say volunteer, say yes to the volunteer experience. The next bullet point I want to highlight is, please be specific and quantitative in your resume. By that I mean, so rather than being generic, like I'm a great salesman. So we see a lot in people's resumes. Oh, I'm very good with time management. I'm very good at setting priorities, right? So use numbers to showcase your achievements and the success and how you did it. Such as I was able to increase sales by 200% by focusing on the untapped market in rural areas. So that is a great example to showcase how you did it and what you did and what result you were able to achieve. So be specific. The next point I want to highlight is please do include your contact information and update it. This might be a given point, but I just want to let everybody know, working in recruitment, we have received so many resumes with the wrong contact information, especially when you're a new immigrant, right? Sometimes you move a lot. So make sure you update your address and your phone number after you have a new address. And in the past, I have personally experienced myself when I tried to contact a candidate, and that was someone that never they didn't know anything about the candidate. So it would be such a shame to lose the opportunity just because of that. I get asked a lot of questions about cover letter. For me, I do feel cover letter counts. Why? Because cover letter allows you the opportunity, the additional opportunity to tell your story of why you're interested in the job and why you are the best candidate for the job. It is a great addition to your resume. And in your cover letter, you might also want to, since you are pre-arrival immigrant, you might also want to indicate that you will be available by which date for the job. So that's a few. Those are a few points for do's. The don'ts. Number one, I would say do not use one-size-fits-all resume. By that I mean always customize your resume to specific position and create a resume that suits the specific post. So customize resume for your industry, your career stage, and the personal brand, which means, say, if you have multiple years of experiences in different industry, but this specific job you're applying is the career in RBC, say banking advisor in RBC, you might want to highlight your experience in banking. That will get your chances of getting noticed much higher. Another piece of advice is do not include information about gender, race, height, date of birth, picture, and marital status. We know that in some countries, like in European, usually those information is included in the resume. But Canadian resumes, we do not ask for those information, and actually we prefer not to have those information. One of the reasons is the Canadian employment law prohibits employers from discrimination on the above-mentioned areas. And we, RBC as an employer, would only make our selection and hiring decision based on your skills and experiences. The next point I want to make is do not write long paragraphs. Always use concise bullet points that are best way to convey the high-level information, because you want to make sure it is easier for recruiter to review your resume and get the highlight points you want. Long paragraph, usually the information gets lost. The next point is do not use the jargons in your that your interviewer won't understand. Do not assume that everybody understands. Say you work in a company, in an overseas company, in an overseas country, and do not assume that recruiters and a hiring manager in Canada would understand the jargon there. The last point I want to make is, since the resume, usually the maximum maximum page of resume is 2 pages. Listing references are not necessary, not required, because you want to really save the space to showcase your experiences and capabilities. If you're selected as the ideal candidate, we would ask for your reference. So there's no need to include your references in your resume. Just now I mentioned the resume, the cover letter, and your actually your LinkedIn profile is a great addition to your resume as well, because a lot of employers like us, we do check your LinkedIn profile before make the hiring. So in the slide you can see some statistics, and those statistics were obtained in 2013. Right now, I would definitely say the percentages that are higher. Because having a LinkedIn profile will help you establish and build your personal brand. Showcase, it can be an additional step to showcase your education and things you care about. It allows you to network with professionals and make new contacts. If you have certain expertise in your industry, you can also write blogs, and that helps you become the industry and the future thought leader. And it adds to your actually expertise and background that's provided to your resume. One thing I do want to mention is internet does not have a delete button. So make sure you are always professional and you are always showcasing your brand, your own personal brand in a positive way.
Thank you so much, Vivian. So just to echo what Vivian mentioned, the internet does not have a delete button. So even when you are on social media, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or anything like that, just do not talk badly about your boss or talk about your interview nightmares or how someone did not get back to you. There's a lot of people that we've noticed just complaining on social media, on employers and all that. So just really try to keep your reputation clean, especially when you're job searching. And in terms of how to build a powerful LinkedIn profile, so this is a very brief summary on how to do that. And if there is enough demand, we may actually have a LinkedIn workshop later on in terms of ACCESS employment staff as well. So we may do one later on. So in terms of do's, I would say I'm going to focus on those because the don'ts are the opposite of the do's. So the first thing is to connect with people that you have met either at an event, referral, or through a friend, because I find that if you're just connecting with people that you don't know at all and there's no association, you're not from the same school, you don't know anybody in common, it's very hard to make a connection. So try to connect with people that have some kind of link to you, and definitely post a professional picture of yourself. I can't emphasize that more. Because in terms of professional picture, we don't want you to have something that is, say a bad quality picture of yourself, or maybe a passport picture, or a picture that is very old and it doesn't look anything like yourself, or maybe a picture with you and your pets. And there's just, the picture should be just a professional headshot of you, a good quality one, looking at the camera, dressed in professional attire, and also smiling as well. So if you can invest in one, I would say try to get a professional to take a headshot of you, or I know that a lot of the phone cameras are really good these days as well, so you just want to make sure you do that. Also, asking for recommendations from specific people that you've worked for is very powerful. So not just asking recommendations from anybody, but people that know your work, your past boss, or maybe your colleagues or your clients, and also give as well. So don't just ask for recommendations, but also provide recommendations to others as well. Another great thing about LinkedIn is there is something called a news feed. So you want to try to share some professional articles with your network. I would say try to do it 3 times a week or so, just to stay current, if anything, at least 1 time a week. And these articles can be things that your network is sharing, it can be updates on the job market, it can even be job postings that other recruiters are sharing, because it just helps you keep top of mind with everyone else that is in your network as well. And in terms of adding people we always get people that add us with a non-personalized message. So it just says, hi, I'd like to add you to my professional network. So when someone adds me on LinkedIn and they say that, I just think, okay, so do I know this person? Why does this person want to connect with me? How did they find my profile? What is their intention? And it's very important just to take the time to write something personalized. So the example here is, hi Jane, I really enjoyed your workshop on finance strategy yesterday. I'd like to add you to my network. And if you're adding myself, you can say, hi Rebecca, I really enjoyed the webinar event yesterday. I'd like to add you to my network. It's a lot more powerful, and it shows that you're putting a little bit more effort in your intention to connect with someone as well. And lastly, in your profile, it's not your entire life story. So I always say LinkedIn is a little bit like a commercial. So it gives enough information to entice your contacts to connect with you, but it's not about your entire life story, how many children you have, you know, the things that Vivian talked about, like your marital status and blah, 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 everything that is not required. So keep it professional and keep it to the point. And in terms of additional tips, so there is a lot more out there on the internet. So one of the great sites that I've come across is something called LinkedIn for Good. It's actually from LinkedIn, the company, and it's specifically for newcomers to Canada. So if you can search for LinkedIn for Good, Welcome Talent Canada, they have a bunch of resources to help you get your LinkedIn profile optimized and also to start one if you don't have one already. And I will also provide you a link for that after this webinar. And in addition to that, please visit our online job search center, as I mentioned earlier in this webinar as well. We also have a bunch of resources for you to optimize your LinkedIn profile. So that link will also be shared after. So how do you stay connected with people overseas? So it's not just having a connection on LinkedIn and then that's it, right? So if you are connecting with somebody on LinkedIn and you've had a virtual coffee with them, so I guess you can say an information interview with them, or you've written to them before, you want to make sure that you stay in touch every 3 to 4 months just to keep your name top of mind. So that means that letting them know when you're planning on landing in Canada, but that also means sharing with them some updates on your job search status. So letting them know some of your successes, some of your challenges, and if you do see something that interests you, it's okay to ask them for advice in terms of applying for a job or asking them if they can connect you with someone else in their company that can help you. Other ways to stay in touch is, like I mentioned, on LinkedIn, you can share industry-related articles with your contacts to stay top of mind. You can also refer great candidates to the recruiters for the roles that they're looking for. So if someone, for example, Vivian, was posting something on LinkedIn and you knew a friend that could be a good fit, definitely share that, right? Because it's really good to give as well. You can also send holiday greetings. You can also follow companies on social media channels as well. So lots of companies tend to post on social media if they have any meet and greets or they have any jobs, anything that's on update, they usually post on social media. And also like and share career-related posts as well from your contacts. And always ask, is there anything that I can do to help you? As a job seeker, you have a lot of value, and even though you're not employed, if you are in Canada already or you've recently left your job and you're planning on coming to Canada, that doesn't mean you don't have value. You actually know the job market very well, and you can provide a lot of industry insights as well that perhaps someone that is very busy in their job might not even know, say, for example, in the financial markets. So following this webinar, this was the online job search center that I did mention to you. So we do have different quizzes, we have past webinars that we've conducted here at ACCESS Employment, and also some very useful articles for you as well. If you want to check out that after the webinar, I'll also send you the link. And we also have upcoming webinars with RBC. So Vivian did mention that we have another webinar coming up with calling Finding Your Perfect Job After Arriving in Canada. So that's taking place on June 19th, and it's going to be at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time again. So in this webinar, it will be the RBC HR team collaborating with Access Employment again, and we'll be providing job search tips for internationally trained professionals. We'll also talk a little bit more about interviews as well and how to manage rejection. I know we talked a little bit about the feedback process and how to do interviews, but we also are going to talk about managing your savings and what to expect when you receive a job offer. So a little bit more advice on the salary negotiations will also be provided here. And you also have an opportunity to hear from an RBC employee on how they secured their current job. So please do register on the link below, and I'll also send that to you afterwards as well. All of our webinar events are also posted on this website. So if you want to be proactive and register for future webinars with RBC and also with our other employer volunteers as well, please feel free to do that. And lastly, and please do stay in touch with us. So you can follow us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and also on our Facebook page as well for any updates. And Vivian, do you want to talk a little bit about RBC?
Definitely. I would, if anybody's interested in job at RBC, please do visit our job site, jobs.rbc.com, to explore the career opportunities. We would also encourage you to visit our newcomers page. We have a lot of newcomer-related contents that help you, have an easy transition from your home country to Canada.
So I just want to thank you all for your participation. This does conclude our webinar. And on behalf of Access Employment, I also just want to thank you, Vivian, for joining us today on this informative webinar.
It's my pleasure. And I wish everybody, very great success in Canada. And Canada is a great country. We welcome you, and we hope that you will find your ideal dream job very soon here.